today on an all-new Dr. Phil. A mother accused of breaking her baby's ribs.
How do we know you didn't hurt that baby?
I never hurt my son.
You had no idea his ribs were broken?
None.
This is a bite mark.
That's not a bite.
That is a bite mark.
Ripped from his parents' arms.
I've been under house arrest.
Should they get their baby back?
They say you did lose your temper with this child.
That's what they said.
I have a pivotal question that this whole case may turn on. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Well, Marty is a mom who says she was a nanny for 17 years, always loved children, ran her church's nursery, and was even dubbed the baby whisperer for her ability to calm other people's children. Then, after struggling through 8 miscarriages, her dream of becoming a mother finally happened when she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. But that dream quickly turned into a nightmare after an ER visit, and she was accused of abuse by doctors, Child Protective Services, and police, who arrested her for allegedly biting her 16-week-old son, breaking several of his ribs and his shoulder bones. Now, she claims she was demonized by local media as a bone-breaking biter mom as news of her story spread. Take a look.
A 16-week-old baby is out of the hospital and in child protective custody. His mother, meanwhile, is in jail, accused of severely abusing him. Mary Peel is charged with felony intentional child abuse.
A judge raised her bond to $400,000. According to an arrest warrant, the baby had 12 broken ribs and deep bite marks on his shoulder, all caused by Peel.
Marty says she was interrogated by police for 8 hours, accused of stomping on her 16-week-old son to break his bones.
I never have been an abusive person, and for sure never hurt my son. When my son was almost 4 months old, I picked him up out of his crib and didn't feel right under his left arm, like a popping feeling. My fiance and I went straight to the hospital. When we got to x-ray, they would not allow us to stay in the room with him. They told us that they had found multiple fractures of my son's ribs. Of course, we were just blown away, very shocked. Shortly thereafter, the social worker for the hospital came in and she looked right at us. She said, "I know that you guys abused your son." Very first thing she said. The police came. The detective screamed at me. He cursed at me. He told me I was the worst mother he'd ever seen. He told me they were going to put me under jail.
To me, someone who does that is the devil. They can throw you under jail.
He told me that the injuries that my son had, I would have either had to have stomped on him or he would have had to have been in a massive car accident. And I told him, you know, that doesn't make sense. He has no bruising. He had scratch marks on his shoulder where he would grab himself. They said that it was a bite mark, that I bit my son. That night, they told us that we had to leave. Without our son, we left with an empty car seat. The last time I held my son was 19 months ago. I've been wrongfully accused of hurting my son.
So how could this happen? Was this a case of violent abuse? Or is there some other explanation, some medical reason for her son's injuries?
After they took my son from us, I said, no, something has to be wrong with our son. I started reaching out to doctors. They diagnosed my son with metabolic bone disease. He had rickets, which is where he is vitamin D deficient. The fractures that he had were from normal handling. And we did baby wear him. We would wear him multiple ways. We would swaddle him. He would scream when you would put him in his car seat. Now I know he was in pain. We never, ever abused our son.
Well, Marty, I'm glad we're here talking about this, and I'm certainly sorry that you're in this situation. Now, you understand that if a child's presented to an emergency room, any type of caregiver, with injuries that would not be common to the normal course of a child playing and falling or whatever, that it's endemic upon the caregivers to err in the direction of protecting the child, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I told them that. I said, I understand that you're doing your job, but I need you to look for the differential diagnosis. Something has to be wrong with my son. I told them over and over and over.
Is there any situation or circumstance where unintentionally that you may have injured this child in some way? Is it possible that even in just a blink of an eye, just for a second, just...
Never one time. Never, ever. I never hurt my son. My dad did fall with him about 6 days prior to this, and that may be part of it, may have exacerbated the situation. I never have hurt my son, ever, not one time.
Your dad fell backwards.
Yes, and grasped him to his chest.
But he took the brunt of the blow when he fell backwards to himself.
Exactly.
He didn't fall on the baby.
He did not fall on
or
him.
drop the baby.
No.
He cushioned the baby with his fall.
Yeah.
He, of course, had to hold him to be sure
Absolutely.
he didn't drop him. But how do we know this about you? Here's a baby presented with these injuries, some older than others, which means this wasn't a single event.
Right.
How do we know you didn't hurt that baby?
You know, they never really looked for the differential diagnosis. There was no bruising. There was just the one scabbing where I have pictures weeks before that happened of the same area, but it just doesn't add up. Like, the dots don't match up. I've cared for children for 17 years. That's what I've done. I love children. I have spent my life taking care of children.
How many times have you had complaints of being rough with children, spanking children, or hurting children during that 17 years?
None.
So you got a 17-year history that says you don't lose your temper with children.
Exactly.
But now you have this child, and they say you did lose your temper with this child.
That's what they said.
And your fiance, has he ever been complained on for hurting a child,
Never.
little brother, sister,
Nope.
cousin,
Never.
niece, nephew?
Nothing.
Anybody?
No.
Now, detectives questioned Marty for 8 hours. Let's hear some of her interrogation.
Marty, let me tell you something. This isn't a scratch. This is a bite mark. It's a clear bite mark.
That's not a bite mark.
That is a bite mark.
You've got to be kidding me. I prayed for this baby. I would never let anybody hurt him, ever. I definitely wouldn't hurt him.
Over and over again you hurt your son.
I have not.
Even if it was there, you know about it.
I definitely do not.
Something happened to your child. You said ribs broken and re-broken and now broken again.
There is no way that I would allow someone to...
That's because you've been doing it. Did the ribs just break on their own?
No.
How did they break then?
I don't know, but I spent 40 hours in labor.
I don't give a about you going through labor or nothing. I'm trying to help you. You absolutely did
That's
something.
unfair.
You know what's unfair? Is you got a 16-week-old in there who's had the kicked out of him his entire life.
Nobody has kicked anything.
I'm to the point now where I don't even give a because at this point I'd rather see you under the jail than over it.
What about the bite marks on his shoulder? What about the bruises on his side? You just failed to see any of that?
You can give me every lie detector test under the sun. I did not hurt my son. I love my child. I have never been in any trouble in my life. I have taken care of children for 20 years without any incident. I would protect anybody's child. I would run out in the street to protect your child.
Something happened to your child. It's you or Derek. We're done. I've never met a mother like you before. Ever.
What did you think about this interrogation?
There's not words. There's really not words. I'm so traumatized by it. I've never been spoken to in my life like that. I tried for 10 years to have a baby. I had 8 miscarriages trying to carry my son. This is my miracle baby. And I was so focused on just telling him and explaining to him so they would realize they had made a mistake. And I never imagined it would get to where it is.
And you had no idea his ribs were broken?
None. I mean, I think we went to 11 doctor's visits between his birth, leaving the hospital, and the day this happened.
Having been trained as a forensic psychologist dealing with psychology and the law. I have a really pivotal question that I think this whole case may turn on. I think it may be outcome determinative as to whether you ever regain custody of this child again or not. It's one question with one answer. And I'm going to ask you right after the break. He's with you and he is sustaining injuries. He's no longer exposed to you. All of a sudden, the injuries stop. What's the variable that's been changed? You.
It doesn't make sense.
And later,
we're missing everything. So he called somebody else mama and dada. They didn't bring him into this world. We brought him into this world. We have been robbed.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. Who is the abuser? The kids?
I have hit my mom 2 or 3 times.
Or mom?
I hate you enough to bully you. You've been screwed on my life since you were born.
so he's not just attacking you, you're attacking him.
Plus, musician Dave Navarro.
His mother was murdered at the hands of her ex-boyfriend.
A powerful one-on-one.
He holds a gun to my head.
Did you think you were dead at that point?
That's tomorrow.
My son was my miracle child. We have missed out on moments that nothing in the world could ever replace. For sure, we've been robbed. Nobody can give us this back. I've been wrongfully accused of hurting my son. I need somebody to listen. I need answers.
Marty says she needs answers after a detective handcuffed her and dragged her off to jail for allegedly breaking her 16-week-old son's ribs and biting his shoulders. Now, her fiance Derek says he felt completely helpless after he was also accused and could not save Marty or their son.
Marty and I are innocent. We never did anything to hurt our son. When our son was 4 months old, she could feel a popping every time he would breathe in and out. When I slightly touched him, he just started to cry. We just headed straight to the emergency room. CPS came into the room. A cop and a detective were questioned for hours. He was telling me he can tell I'm not a bad person, but I need to come clean about what happened.
We found bite marks on his shoulder right here.
I'm being completely very honest with you. I have done nothing.
Once the social worker told us that this is child abuse, Marty and I just broke down in tears. I couldn't fathom what was going on. I was still in shock that our son had these injuries and we knew nothing about it. I'm angry. I don't know what type of monster they think I am.
Well, joining us via Polycom now is Derek. Derek, I really appreciate you joining us here. And how long were you interrogated at the hospital?
I was interrogated for about an hour.
And they kept you separate, correct?
Yes, sir. They called me back there to where the nurse was holding my son, and the detective told me to hold your son one more time because you're never going to see him again.
As this has unfolded across time, you've learned that there are some things here that put this in a very different light. And there's a letter from the hospital, September 15, 2014, that says, first off, Marty suffers from Ehlers-Danlos hypermobility syndrome. And we'll talk about that in a second. It is likely the infant also has Ehlers-Danlos hypermobility syndrome. Being vitamin D deficient at 4 months, being totally breastfed, and had undetected infantile rickets. Likely means he was vitamin D deficient at birth. The combination of infantile rickets and Ehlers-Danlos hypermobility syndrome can markedly increase bone fragility. So what you're saying then is that there were conditions, one that you have and there is a genetic component to this, that it can be passed on, and that he was also suffering from infantile rickets. And these fractures of ribs, for example, could have been during the birth process, could be from picking the child up, could be from any number of things.
It could be.
Right?
And I kept telling them that over and over.
Now, I said there was a question that has to be dealt with here. When your son was taken from you, from that point forward, did he continue to have injuries?
They did stop. Initially, when he was taken, he was in the hospital for 3 days. At that point, his ribs were fractured, so they were handling him more carefully. They also put him on formula. Formula is vitamin D fortified. With the careful handling and him getting what he needed for his bones, it stopped. It's basically self-healing once you administer what needs to be had.
Well, you understand my point, because we're saying, okay, you say he's with you and he is sustaining injuries.
Absolutely.
There's no question about that.
No.
You say, well, but he had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and infantile rickets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but then we cross this line, he's no longer exposed to you. He still has the same syndrome, still has infantile rickets, but all of a sudden the injuries stop. What's the variable that's been changed? You. Now, in isolation, that looks bad.
It does.
We're going to find out what's going on here. I mean, has CPS and law enforcement really run amok here and broken this family apart? Or is there some basis for this? We're going to unravel all of this after the break.
Why would a mother abuse a child and bring that child under the light of multiple health care providers who would almost certainly catch her from this abusive act? This is an act of insanity.
And later, viewers alert Dr. Phil and Robin to a potential scam.
This could end up costing hundreds of dollars that they had no idea that they were being charged.
I've been under house arrest for 6 months. This is the ankle monitor that I have to wear. We both used all of our money out of our savings to bail her out of jail. Our bank accounts were empty, so I did take money from my job, $38,000. After I did that, I spoke with my supervisors and I returned all of the money. But when your back is against the wall, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Derek says he was desperate to save his family after his fiancée Marty was accused of breaking their 16-week-old son's ribs and collarbones, scapula, arrested, put behind bars on a $400,000 bond. She said, I'll take every polygraph you've got. You can take imprints of my teeth, match them to the baby. They ever take imprints of your teeth?
They said they did not have anybody that could do them.
Yeah. If you look at the nurse's notes and the medical reports, those are crossed out, but that was never corrected. So the question becomes, first off, can this disease, these two things, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and infantile rickets, can these diseases account for these injuries? Well, EDS, genetics and pediatrics expert, Dr. J. Patrick Whelan, says clues on Marty's son's x-rays were missed that were suggestive of metabolic bone disease. He also says there's no doubt that Marty is a victim of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and passed the genetic disorder to her son. So, Dr. Whelan, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate this. I guess the question that we have, bottom line, was this missed when they went to the hospital, and is that why this abuse allegation was made?
Absolutely. This is not an uncommon thing that happens in the emergency room. They're looking for common things. They're not looking for the rare things. And they're numbed to the presence of common problems. And so I think it's not surprising that a radiologist glancing at this film, seeing multiple broken ribs, jumps to the conclusion that this must be child abuse.
And you say he was also born with rickets.
So rickets is a problem with the strength of our bones. It's a problem where, for one reason or another, the bone mineral density is decreased below what it should be.
And you say they also miss some telltale signs of flared ribs.
You know, perhaps I should defer to my radiology colleague sitting next to me here.
Let me introduce radiologist Dr. David to you. Tell us what you've seen in looking at this and what it means in interpreting what's happened in this case.
Right. There was a clue in what a radiologist should have read that would have automatically, in my opinion, completely excluded the mother as a suspect if there was abuse. Even before you were judging whether there was abusive fractures or metabolic bone disease related fractures, is the mother brought the baby in with clicking or popping in the ribs, a non-life-threatening disease. Okay, why would a mother abuse a child and bring that child under the light of multiple health care providers who would almost certainly catch her from this abusive act? This is an act of insanity. And if this is the mindset of this mother, there would be easy to find this in her background, that she was doing crazy things. And this is not the action of a guilty person. So that would be the first person I would cross off my list. And unless you are trained carefully to look at the subtle signs of rickets on x-rays, you will never see them. They're not teaching doctors that anymore. So she had, the baby's x-rays showed enough signs, although relatively mild compared to the other cases I see. There were clear-cut signs at the 2-month x-ray of rachitic rosary, which is enlargement of the front of the ribs. There were changes in the wrists and changes in some of the long bones of rickets.
Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Doug Benson says the diagnosis of child abuse is unsupportable. Dr. Benson has joined us on the phone and has been involved in the case for some time as well. Dr. Benson, are you there?
I'm here. Right at the beginning, you talked about the fact that this woman had 9 pregnancies in 11 years. The mother's body leaches out minerals to make her baby. And when she has one pregnancy after another, she never really has an opportunity to fully recover. And it's been known for 100 years that vitamin D deficiency is associated with fractures in infants and small children.
This has got to be music to your ears.
It is.
Marty and Derek. I can't thank you all enough for shedding light on this. We've got to take a break. We reached out to the police department, CPS, and the DA's office. We're going to hear what they have to say about this right after the break.
We're missing everything. So he called somebody else mama and dada. They didn't bring him into this world. We brought him into this world. We have been robbed.
Dr. Phil, I've known Marty a little over 10 years now. She is awesome with kids. She has been around my children. She's been around my foster children. There is no way that she abused her son.
I've known Marty 16 years. She's taken care of my daughter since she was born. I know there has to be another explanation for what happened, because I know she wouldn't hurt her son.
Marty is one of the most kind, respectful, and gentle people I know, especially with children. When detectives said that mark was a bite mark, I saw that with my own eyes. That was a scratch mark. She would never hurt her child or anyone else's child.
Well, those are Marty's friends who say she's not the bone-breaking biter mom that the media has portrayed her to be, and would never commit such a heinous crime of reportedly breaking several of her then 16-week-old son's ribs. We reached out to the different agencies involved in this. We reached out to CPS, Child Protective Services. They said, quote, "We do not comment on CPS cases, whether open or closed." We got a statement from the district attorney. Quote, "It would be inappropriate for me to comment on a pending criminal matter. As I understand, the case now is slated to go to trial, so I couldn't comment about the specifics or about the case while it is in a pending status." We reached out to Wake County Police Department, and they declined to comment. And in the meantime, your baby's gone.
He's gone, and we're missing everything. He called somebody else mama and dada. They didn't bring him into this world. We brought him into this world. We were delighted to be parents. Like, we were so ecstatic, and we've been robbed. We have been robbed.
Well, I've brought somebody here to talk about this. Attorney and child advocate Ariva Martin has been sitting here listening to this so far. And Ariva, let me think how to put this. What the hell is going on?
The system has just run amok on this case, Dr. Phil. The district attorney, the CPS, the family, these experts should all be talking because they all should have the best interest of this child as the primary focus and getting this child returned to the parents if they're not abusers. They should not be in separate corners. They should be together working to get this child home.
As I understand it, Derek does not have visitation. He's not even been charged with anything. Explain that to me.
The reality is, sometimes these systems overreach. There is no justification based on the facts that we know that we're sitting here that's before us that would support Derek not having custody. And I wish that the family had some resources. There's some pro bono services, some clinics that are available, some free lawyers that will go into court and help Derek get his son. Derek hasn't been charged with any child abuse. There's no reason that Derek should not have custody of his son.
Will you help us coordinate those resources for them?
I'm going to help Derek. I'm going to help the mom. I'd love to help you all. Please, get the services that you need.
Marty and Derek say they both want to know how to clear Marty's name and get their son back. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. Musician Dave Navarro.
His mother was murdered at the hands of her ex-boyfriend.
He holds a gun to my head.
Did you think you were dead at that point?
That's tomorrow.
We have leading experts here in relevant science to what has happened here, in these three wonderful experts here that have weighed in on this. You've got a history, and I can tell you from a forensic psychological standpoint, in putting this history together, you look at custody in terms of whether someone is a fit parent or not. You look for stability financially, environmentally, spiritually, emotionally, all the things that are very evident in this situation. There's just absolutely no reason to not unify this family. And the one thing that I want to say to everybody at home, and I always worry so much about the pendulum swinging too far in the other direction. I would hate, really, really hate, as a product of this conversation, for a young mother or a young father to fail to take their child to health care providers in an emergency situation because you fear that you might get there and something like this might happen. Fortunately, this is the exception. It is not the rule. And I would hate for something terrible to happen to a young child because you were afraid to go to the hospital. You were afraid to go to your doctor. And hopefully you have a caregiver that you can pick up the phone and call, a pediatrician that you know, that if you do get to the emergency room and there's a question, and they can call your pediatrician that can vouch for you, that can talk for you. But please don't fail to get your child necessary medical care if you're in a bind. Special thanks to attorney and child advocate Ariva Martin, EDS genetics and pediatrics expert Dr. J. Patrick Whelan, radiologist Dr. David Ayub, and orthopedic surgeon Dr. Doug Benson. Thank you three gentlemen for your help today as well. I hope you're glad that you came here today.
I'm so thankful.
All right,
I really am.
Dr. Phil Show viewers alert us to a possible scam.
So they said it was free. All you had to do was pay for shipping. This company had gone in, attached to my cart, started charging $101 every 2 weeks.
Do you need Dr. Phil's help? Text Phil to 88500 and share your story for a chance to appear on the show. Standard message and data rates may apply.
You know, over the years, we've done a lot of shows about scams. Well, here we are again, and this time there are some scumbags using headlines about our marriage being in trouble to lure people into buying skincare products that have nothing to do with Robin or her brand. I mean, look at this. Domestic disturbance. I never meant to hurt my wife, but she wronged me. Okay? Then, when you click on that nonsense, it brings you to another completely fabricated headline. Robin McGraw's reveals her biggest beauty secret against Dr. Phil's wishes.
That really makes me so mad because I worked for years, over 3 years, to perfect my skincare line, Robin McGraw Revelation. And I am so very proud of it. So to hear that there are people out there using our marriage and my name and image to sell lotions and creams that I have absolutely nothing to do with really drives me crazy. Ugh. For instance, look at this headline. If you look really closely, you can see a typo. I mean, instead of Robin McGraw reveals, it says Robin McGraw '(S) reveals her biggest beauty secret. Now listen, our team would never make a mistake like that. It's very unprofessional and frankly, very unbelievable. They rip off very credible magazines like Vanity Fair and Cosmopolitan, and they use their logos so people think that these are real articles on real sites.
You've clicked on this now because it's got her picture and likeness on it. And so the article turns out to be nothing but an advertisement for a skin cream trial.
And get this, they say you only have to pay for the shipping. Little do unsuspecting customers know, if they don't read the very fine print, they are signing up for an automatic shipping of more products with automatic billing straight to their credit card. This could end up costing hundreds of dollars if they had no idea that they were being charged.
We found out about this fake endorsement bull because a few weeks ago, viewers started writing into the show saying that they had just been bamboozled into buying these falsely endorsed products. Here's what some of them had to say.
I watch Dr. Phil and Robin all the time. And so when I saw an advertisement on Facebook, I thought, ooh, what is this?
I had seen Robin roll out her skincare line, the show that she did it in.
It's my new skincare line called Robin McGraw Revelation.
I've been looking for the product for quite a while now.
So I clicked on it, and it was saying that Robin was using this wrinkle cream.
Look at Robin. She's got skin like porcelain.
So they said it was free. All you had to do was pay for shipping.
It's only $7 or $8, and I thought I could do that.
Within a couple of weeks, this jar arrived. This is the jar. And it said on it, snake venom cream. This should have been my first clue.
A couple days later, I looked at my account and I was charged $98.
This company had gone in, attached to my card, started charging $101 every 2 weeks. And they got me for several hundred before I realized.
It's just a scam.
One viewer, Jean, says it was an article that featured photos of Philip and me that drove her to the product site that she bought from. And I just had to meet with her. I'm about to go in here and talk to Jean. She's one of the many ladies who bought a skincare product thinking I endorsed it. Hi, Jean.
Hi.
Very nice to meet you.
Well.
I'm really very frustrated and very upset that you've been taken advantage of and scammed. I've been hearing so much about this lately from so many people. Tell me how all of this started for you.
I was on Facebook initially to read an article. And of course, when you click on a site, there's always related articles along the bottom, and happened to see a picture of you and Dr. Phil. had to do with your secret to your anti-aging success or something similar to that.
Like I have this miracle secret.
Right.
To staying young.
Of course, they showed a picture of you like in 1998 and a picture of what you look like today, and we're claiming that this was your secret product. You know, you're a beautiful lady, and we all want to look like that when we're in our 60s. So I click on it. It didn't really give you how much the product was going to cost. You were only buying the 14-day trial. All you were paying for was shipping and handling, which was $4.97.
So you got the secret for free. You just paid to get the secret
Right.
shipped to you.
Then I found out that there was a $38.71 charge for a product I didn't order. I had to go through the process of calling my credit card company to get this turned in as a fraudulent charge.
Sadly, a lot of people don't realize that they do get sucked in.
Oh, absolutely.
So thank you.
You know, that's just, it just makes me sick. It's just terrible.
It's heartbreaking. She's using the trust she has in us, and they're taking advantage of it. Searching for the person behind all of this is very challenging.
We're chasing these people. We're not going to stop till we find them. Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
So far, what we found, there are at least 8 websites that have used Robin's name and image to promote multiple skincare products. Here are just a few: Alluracell, Skin Refined, Allegro, and Brio, and Montecito Skincare. But trust me, they go on and on, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. And searching for the person behind all of this is very challenging because one day a site is live and operational, and the next day it's just gone, only to resurface again later. It's like actually stacking fog, as Philip would say.
Many of the women who wrote in tried to return the products and get their money back. And they say it was no small feat getting the return address. So we looked into those addresses, and 3 of them were actually in San Diego. Take a look at how that turned out. From Paramount Studios, we went to the first address, which turned out to be a U.S. post office. This is a post office box linked to the Skinology products. Next, we went to the second address, which turned out to be a postal annex store where one of the women said she was told to send her unused portion of biofinite. Next, we went 24 miles across town to the third address, which again was another postal annex, this time linked to Creme Del Mar and biofinite. Here, a clerk agreed to speak to us.
This is one of the websites. It says reveals her biggest beauty secrets. She never endorsed her, gave her permission. Have you ever seen anything like anybody say anything, anybody come in, anything?
I've had a couple of people come off the street and try and return products for them here.
Was that for some of these products, for these 2 companies? Or
I believe it was, yes.
For biofinite and
I think it was for this one.
The beauty labs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we didn't stop there. We're chasing these people. We're not going to stop till we find them. So I want to introduce you to Chris Chatham. He's the founding partner of the Chatham Law Group, which focuses on litigation and entertainment. And Variety recently named him one of Hollywood's top entertainment lawyers, working in film, television, theater, digital media. And that was the really important part in this particular deal. Chris started by sending cease and desist letters to these skincare companies using Robin's image. And believe it or not, he actually received responses from 3 companies. So Chris, take us through this. What happened? First, you reached out to tell these people they better cut this out, right?
One of the most interesting responses we got back was that the business owner who hired an ad agency to drive traffic to his site said he had no idea that he was misappropriating Robin's brand.
This is the company that's shipping the products, right?
Correct. So he gave me the contact information of the ad agency that was driving traffic to his site.
All right. So did you get a letter from the agency?
I sure did.
And is this it?
That's a response back.
All right, so what did they say?
Well, they responded back and said the following. We acknowledge receipt of your email. We have done everything we can to take down Robin's image. We've talked to all of our affiliates, and we've told them that they are under contractual obligations to make sure they're not violating the law. And we believe that this has resolved the problem.
And they don't control these people, and those people say they didn't even know the ad agency was using her brand on their products. So it's this.
It's this, and it's also answer my question, who are these affiliates if it's not you?
And you're awaiting that response.
I am.
Okay, well, we also reached out to all these skincare companies to ask why they are using lies about our marriage and my image to promote their products, but we were never able to get past even the call centers that seem to be located in a foreign country.
Yeah, now, if you're looking for Robin's skincare products, they can be found exclusively at robinmcgrawrevelation.com.
That's it. You know, I wish I could meet all the women who wrote into the show so I could thank them myself in person. But I've thought of another way to say thank you. If we've spoken to you and we have your information, and because you wanted to try my face cream, well, you're getting everything in my Robin McGraw Revelation skincare product line. All of it. And you're getting everything in my Me Oh My collection. And I also want to say, for everyone here today in the audience, you're also getting everything in the Robin McGraw. And also everything in the Me Oh My collection.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, very proud.
If you purchased a skin cream that was falsely endorsed with Robin's likeness, please let us know. Go to drphil.com and share your story. We'd appreciate any information to keep anyone from being victimized in the future. I want to thank all of my guests today. We'll see you next time.
Memories can kill ya, but it didn't hear ya. I thought that I could fly, but woke up on the asphalt. I swear there was the last time.